What if I told you that the history you learned in school is only part of the story? America is filled with hidden tales, forgotten events, and shocking truths that have been tucked away in the footnotes of time. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on 10 startling insights into America's hidden history that you probably never knew. Get ready, because some of these might just change the way you see the past. Let's start with number 1. The Great Stink of 1858. In New York City, you've probably heard about London's Great Stink, but did you know New York had its own foul-smelling crisis? In the summer of 1858, the city was overwhelmed by the stench of raw sewage, animal carcasses, and industrial waste that had been dumped into its waterways for decades. The smell was so unbearable that people reportedly fainted in the streets. This environmental disaster forced the city to finally take public sanitation seriously, leading to the creation of the Metropolitan Board of Health, a major step forward in public health infrastructure. It's a pungent reminder that progress often rises from the smelliest of problems. Next up, number 2, before the famous Salem witch trials. There was the Witch of Wall Street. Her name was Anne Hutchinson, but she was a religious reformer in the 1630s, not a witch. Her progressive beliefs, like arguing that people could communicate directly with God without a minister, threatened the rigid Puritan leadership of the Massachusetts Bay Colony. She was put on trial for heresy, branded a heretic, and banished. While not a witch trial in the literal sense, her persecution set a dangerous precedent for intolerance and suppressing dissenting voices, paving the way for the hysteria that would grip Salem decades later. Number 3 is a real head-scratcher. The United States once had an emperor. No, I'm not kidding. In the 1850s, a man named Joshua Norton, a failed businessman in San Francisco, declared himself Norton I, Emperor of the United States and Protector of Mexico. Now, you'd think he'd be locked away, right? Instead, the people of San Francisco embraced him. He printed his own currency, which local shops actually accepted. He issued decrees, like ordering a bridge to be built between San Francisco and Oakland Division that later became the Bay Bridge. Emperor Norton was a beloved local celebrity, proving that sometimes a little bit of madness can be wonderfully entertaining. Moving on to number 4. Abraham Lincoln created the Secret Service on the very day he was assassinated. On April 14, 1865, Lincoln signed the legislation that established the Secret Service. Its original mission, however, had nothing to do with protecting the president. It was created to combat widespread currency counterfeiting, which was destabilizing the nation's economy after the Civil War. It's a tragic irony of history that the organization that would later become synonymous with presidential protection was born on the same day the nation lost one of its greatest leaders. Let's dive into number 5. The first female presidential candidate ran for office in 1872. Nearly 50 years before women even had the right to vote. Her name was Victoria Woodhull, and she was a true trailblazer, a leader of the women's suffrage movement, a spiritualist, and a successful stockbroker. She ran for president under the Equal Rights Party. Her platform was radical for the time, advocating for an 8-hour workday, welfare for the poor, and yes, women's right to vote. Although she didn't win a single electoral vote and spent Election Day in jail on obscenity charges. Her audacity shattered conventions and paved the way for future generations of women in politics. Here's a surprising one for number 6. The story of Pocahontas that you know from Disney. It's almost entirely fiction. The real Pocahontas was a young girl named Amanute, who was only around 10 or 11 years old when she first met John Smith. The dramatic tale of her saving him from execution was likely an embellished story Smith told years later to boost his own reputation. She did not have a romantic relationship with him. Later, she was captured by the English, converted to Christianity, renamed Rebecca, and married John Rolfe. Her story is a complex and often tragic one of cultural collision, not a simple fairy tale romance. Ready for number 7. In 1919, the city of Boston was hit by a literal tidal wave of molasses. A massive storage tank holding over 2 million gallons of molasses burst in the city's north end. A sticky, 25-foot-high wave, moving at 35 miles per hour, crashed through the streets, destroying buildings and engulfing everything in its path. The Great Molasses Flood, as it came to be known, was a bizarre and deadly disaster, resulting in 21 deaths and over 150 injuries. It took weeks to clean up, and locals claimed they could still smell the sweet scent of molasses on hot summer days for decades after. Number 8 is a tale of espionage and invention. You know Hedy Lamarr as a glamorous Hollywood star from the 1940s. But did you also know she was a brilliant inventor? During World War II, Lamarr, an Austrian immigrant who had fled her Nazi-sympathizing husband, co-invented a frequency-hopping technology. The system was designed to prevent enemy forces from jamming radio-guided torpedoes. While the US Navy didn't use her invention during the war, the principles of her work laid the foundation for modern technologies like Wi-Fi, GPS, and Bluetooth. A true beauty with brains. Let's look at number 9, a story that sounds like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie. Between 1955 and 1972, the US government had a secret plan called Project A119. The goal: to detonate a nuclear bomb on the moon. This wasn't for scientific purposes. It was a Cold War-era show of force, intended to intimidate the Soviet Union after they launched Sputnik. The plan was to create a mushroom cloud large enough to be seen from Earth with the naked eye. Thankfully, military leaders scrapped the project, fearing the potential risks and public backlash if something went wrong. But it's a chilling reminder of just how far the Cold War arms race was willing to go. Finally, we arrive at number 10. The largest slave rebellion in U.S. history has been largely erased from textbooks. The 1811 German Coast Uprising involved up to 500 enslaved people who marched from the sugar plantations along the German coast of Louisiana towards New Orleans. Armed with hand tools and a few guns, their goal was to overthrow the city and establish a free black republic. The rebellion was brutally suppressed by local militias and U.S. troops. In the aftermath, many of the rebels were executed, their heads displayed on pikes along the river to terrorize other enslaved people. This powerful act of resistance was deliberately downplayed by historians for generations, but it stands as a testament to the unyielding fight for freedom. So there you have it, 10 startling pieces of America's hidden history. From a molasses flood to a forgotten emperor, these stories show that the past is always more complex and fascinating than we think. History isn't just a collection of dates and famous names. It's a treasure trove of incredible, strange, and inspiring human stories waiting to be discovered. Thanks for joining us on this journey through the hidden corners of American history. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the stories you were never told. See you next time.